There's a lot of conversations about the various issues and topics surrounding Indigenous people in Canada, and they all tie back into one word: treaties. A treaty, in the most simple terms, is a legal agreement between two governments or nations. But in this video, we're going to be talking about agreements between the Indigenous peoples and the Government of Canada. But actually, it's not that simple, like at all. So I'm going to break it down for you. This is Can Explains Treaties. Treaties go way back before Canada became a country, before Europeans even came to North America.
It actually is founded on an Indigenous form of relationship development between Indigenous nations, and they're made through not just international law or European law, but also made through Indigenous law.
When Europeans started arriving on the continent, or settlers as they're often called, Indigenous people used treaties to say how they would share land.
There was a very important treaty that was made in 1764, and that treaty involved about 2,000 Indigenous leaders coming to Niagara Falls to meet with the British.
It is called the Treaty of Niagara. This treaty is not officially recognized by the Canadian government, but it is viewed by Indigenous people as the foundation for all future treaties. From there, all kinds of treaties were made between European settlers and Indigenous people.
So there's all of the historic treaties. So in the Maritimes, you might recognize them as they're called peace and friendship treaties. Most of them are called pre-Confederation treaties. They happened before Canada became Canada. Then there's the ones known as the numbered treaties, and it's literally treaty number 1, 2, 3, 4.
All these treaties vary, but there is one big thing about many of them that the government and Indigenous people do not agree on.
There's this big misconception about treaties that it was about just Native people signing away their land. And that is not the case at all, because there was never any intention to sign away land, but it was meant to share.
The language used in the written documents of these treaties is called cede and surrender language, aka hand over your land or territory, like a real estate deal, right?
It's not a deal. It's not a bill of sale that's created between two nations. It's a relationship. It's certain obligations are promised by either party.
But if it is written right there in the legal documents, why is there disagreement? Well, it has a lot to do with how treaties were recorded by both sides. Like we mentioned, Europeans recorded these treaties in written documents. But in many cases, Indigenous people recorded them differently. There could be oral records, where what was agreed to in the treaties could be shared by spoken language. And symbolic records. An example of this is the wampum belts that were made for treaties.
They are the only form of treaties that were drafted, so to speak, by the Indigenous nation. So, for example, there is a wampum belt that represents living separately, but working collaboratively together, and no nation would bother the other nation in terms of its own governance and economies and the ways that they want to govern each other.
It's why many people argue the written documents are not enough to fully understand these treaties, and it's at the heart of disagreements over them. There are many Indigenous nations across the country who feel like Canada isn't upholding their end of the bargain, and not all of land in Canada has treaties.
For example, the Inuit did not sign historic treaties. The Métis didn't even exist when some of the earliest treaties were signed. There's lots of First Nations in British Columbia, for example. No treaties were signed with them.
Which brings us to what is called modern treaties. They are
a self-government agreement signed between a province, the federal government, and a First Nation. That's now considered a modern treaty. So literally, the number of treaties here in Canada changes every time they sign a new treaty.
The Nisga'a Treaty came into effect on May 11th, 2000, and was the first modern treaty in British Columbia. And these modern treaties look a little different than the historical ones.
Compare and contrast that treaty with my treaty, Treaty 3, you'll see that the written document, it's a few pages. written in 1873. The Nishka Treaty looks like a set of encyclopedias, look like 20 volumes of books.
But there is even disagreement about these modern treaties being negotiated. Nothing about this is simple. And all those topics and issues that flooded the screen at the beginning of the video, they're all struggles that Indigenous people had to face because of the historic relationship between Indigenous peoples and settlers. And that all ties back to treaties. It's a complicated puzzle that Canadians hope to solve through reconciliation. But that's for another video. And check out this graphic next to me if you want to find out more about who we spoke to and where we got our research and information from. And that's it for Can Explains.